Welcome to Healthy Lifestyle with Lorianne. I am Lorianne Casdia. Our goal here at Healthy Lifestyle is to inspire, educate, and empower you to fulfill a healthy, emotional, spiritual, and physical life so you can feel empowered to live the life you have always wanted and dreamed. Today we have a really exciting show. We have two different people on today. The first guest that we have on, I am so honored and pleased because I read this book a long time ago, the Aroma FreedomTherapy book, and was excited, able to get some experience doing and executing aromatherapy with using these techniques. And today we have Dr. Benjamin Perkus on, who is a licensed clinical psychologist with over 20 years of experience utilizing many of the most progressive techniques for body, mind, and emotional wellness available. He has worked with adults and children, the youth and the old, singles and couples. He has traveled around the world teaching people how to use essential oils and lifestyle strategies to optimize brain function, let go of the past, and enhance happiness and well-being. But the most significant improvement he found come from a technique he developed in 2016 as a method that people can use on themselves every day if you'd like, and others in a matter of minutes, called the Aroma Freedom technique. And it is a step-by-step process designed to be learned and used by anyone who wants more freedom in their life. It literally will reset your day at that very moment. And it does work. I'm telling you, I do it. It's beautiful. It works. Get you out of a cranky mood, get you back into alignment with yourself. And Dr. Perkus now teaches this process worldwide through online seminars, as well as a comprehensive certification program available to anyone who wants to help themselves or others find more freedom and happiness in their lives. And you can definitely reach him at aromafreedom.com. But welcome to the show, Dr. Ben.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Oh my gosh. So read your book, do AFT, Aroma Freedom Therapy, and it is amazing. Could you share with our listeners what AFT actually is?
Sure. Be happy to do that. So Aroma Freedom technique, it's a system that I created after years of experimentation, and I worked with lots of different trauma therapies, EMDR, and NAT, and each of them had helped us to move trauma along more quickly, because everyone knows that just talking about something bad that happened doesn't necessarily make it feel any better. So in 2016, I was overseas. I was teaching about this process of resolving these traumatic memories, and I thought, well, what about not just the big traumas that people have, but what about the little traumas, the little hurts and disappointments and frustrations? What can we use to just quickly clear out those things so people can move forward and just move on with their life, reach their goals, not be held back in paralysis and everything? So right. I sat down and put together these 12 steps, and it starts with setting a goal, an intention, something you want to see happen in your life. Could be, I want to write a book, or I want a new relationship, or I want to perform better at sports, whatever it is. And then through a series of questions, each step asks a question, and we're finding out what is that negative voice in your head saying that tells you this can't happen. And by connecting that with the feelings and the bodily sensations, we end up at these memories where maybe you were 6 years old and the teacher didn't smile at you, and somehow you got a little thought in your brain that, oh, the teacher doesn't like me, teachers don't like me, people don't like me. And, that's what happens. We develop these thought patterns that they just exist throughout our life without us really realizing it. So let's say that happened. With this process, you're back at that memory, and you're kind of having this feeling of nervousness, and the teacher doesn't like me. Then you're smelling these specific essential oils that we use, and most amazing thing happens is the memory itself starts to change. It could be that the picture just kind of breaks apart or dissolves, or maybe as you're breathing the oil into the memory, you actually start seeing something different happen. You start seeing the teacher smile, and then you start to smile. Even though it didn't happen in real life, sometimes as you're reworking the memory, new things can happen. And in either case, you emerge from that feeling a little more hopeful, a little more positive. So we go back and just do, a few rounds of this until when you set your goal, whatever it is, there's nothing in you that says it can't happen. So we're kind of like clearing out the channels of these memories and thoughts. using the essential oils. So the full AFT process only takes maybe 30 minutes or so, depending on, how many things there are there. And there are people who've told me that, one AFT session helped them more than 10 years of therapy. So I actually I let go of my psychology practice because I was helping more people by teaching them how to use this on themselves and others. I was helping more people doing that than I was just having them come in one-on-one to see me. So that's how the technique was born, and people can learn it right from the book, or they can take the online classes, and it's just been wonderful to see it grow since then.
It really is amazing. And anybody, my listeners know this, is that I really like to empower people to be able to take their lives and do something more with it on their own terms. And this allows you to do that. And you can do this anywhere. You could do it in your car. You could do it at your house. You could do it at work. I know that I've done this therapy or this technique, I should say, with veterans and people with PTSD. So it really is such a functional, and I utilize it myself when I'm having one of those days where I'm doubting myself. The inner talk is really amazing, what we do to ourselves. Nobody could say anything as horrible as we can say to ourselves. Isn't that totally amazing? So what made you, or how did you come across discovering it, and help us understand, how does it work? How does the essential oils connect and help us rewire that memory so it becomes a better memory, a different memory?
Sure. Well, for the first question of how I discovered it, for many years, I kind of wore two hats because I had a psychology practice, and I was always learning new techniques and trying them with people and slowly improving my craft and getting better and better at helping people. I kind of had that. And then at the same time, my wife and I had started using essential oils, and we were teaching classes in how to use oils, mostly just for things like headaches or backaches or cold and flu season or allergies. And so I kind of had this double life, but I liked both of those worlds, and I didn't really know how to combine them. And then the breakthrough came one day when I was doing a technique called EMDR, which is an eye movement technique for reprocessing trauma. But I thought, instead of having the person moving their eyes, I'm going to have them smell the essential oil. Okay. And there's a specific oil Gary Young created called Trauma Life, which is for this. And so I had them smell the oil. And what was amazing is exactly what I described. The memory just kind of dissolved, and they could think about it and just not feel upset. And so I knew I was onto something then. And so since that time, I just kept experimenting, as I had described. As far as how it works, well, in the beginning, I didn't know how it worked. I had a basic idea that when you smell something, smell is kind of one of these primal senses that it's so primal that you can't resist it. The examples I give are, for instance, if you take food out of the refrigerator and it's gone bad and you smell it, what happens? You feel disgusted. You recoil. You feel like, I can't possibly eat that. That's your sense of smell giving you an immediate sensation of disgust to save your life. So it's really a self-protective mechanism. Or think of the rabbit that's hopping along and smells a fox and runs into its hole to escape. The sense of smell is hardwired in the brain so that it goes directly to the limbic system, directly to our fight or flight survival, right, so that we can survive without thinking about it. So then I thought, well, the sense of smell is also used in pretty much every religion around the world, whether it's in a temple or a church or a mosque, or, the sense of smell, incense is being used to help us kind of put the stress of the world aside so that we can go inside and so that we can commune inside. So it has this positive or negative effect that's kind of irresistible. So I knew that it did that. And so my basic sense of it was that when you're focused on a stressful memory, an upsetting memory, you're in this fight or flight arousal stress state. And then when you have all of that pulled up and you're smelling the oil, because the sense of smell is so primal, it forces you to feel better. And then your brain gets confused because, wait a minute, I'm looking at this horrible memory, but I feel okay. So your brain has to rewire and says, well, obviously I survived that. Obviously I'm okay now. I can think about that without it being a problem. And the whole, what we call the memory complex, kind of dissolves. So I kind of knew that already when I wrote the book. And then what I discovered about a year later was someone got in touch with me and said, hey, what you're doing is called memory reconsolidation. And the neuroscientists have been studying this since the 2000s, and they're studying this ability the brain has to basically rewire memories. And we do it all the time. If you have a memory of the bagel shop is on your left as you're driving, but then that's where you kind of remember it to be. But then as you're driving, you realize, it's actually on the right. So your brain has to readjust. So this happens all the time. But when it comes to those past memories that are more intense,
right,
it tends not to be rewired in the same way, because let's say there's nothing you can do in the present to convince you that the past didn't happen. So because, let's say you're assaulted on a street corner and you have a traumatic memory from that, even though you go by the street corner now and there's no mugger there now, you still remember there was a mugger there before.
Sure.
So the memory reconsolidation says that you have to kind of pull it up with the intensity of feeling that you had when it was happening. And if you can do that, then what happens is the neurons, and this has been studied across species, everything from crabs to mice to, birds to humans. And what they find is that when you do this, the synapses separate, and you have about a 5-hour window where the synapses, the brain is looking for new information. So, and that new information is the sense of smell, the essential oils, gives you the sense that you're safe. Then the neurons reconfigure in a new way. So it works through this process of memory reconsolidation.
It's just amazing. It really does. So how can it help with trauma? Because I know that we use 3 oils that we put together for this.
Sure. Well, as I said, when you're in a traumatic memory, what is that really? That's a mental state.
Correct.
Where you are picturing something, mm-hmm. and you're responding to your picture of that, and with a feeling and emotional charge, and usually with a negative thought. The negative thought is often what holds it together. Like I remember when I was about 20, I was painting a house and I fell off a roof, and I thought I was going to die. I was about 20 feet up, and the ladder came out from under me. And I remember having this thought, I'm going to die, which is what you think when you're in a traumatic situation. And I remember years later, I was going to psychology school, and I was actually processing some of these memories. And I remember that moment of thinking I'm going to die. And I had to be able to feel that and think that and sense everything and realize that I was okay.
Yeah.
And when I did that, it really healed. So what we're always looking for with these memories, big traumas, little traumas, there's 4 pieces to what we call the memory complex. There's the image, picture of what happened. There's the feeling you have when you picture it. There's where you feel it in your body. And then there's the usually negative thought. And so when you pull all those together, you have the full memory complex there. And then smelling the essential oil, it just dissolves the meaning of that trauma. And whatever happened still happened. Obviously, you didn't change the past, but you're changing your perception and you're changing how it affects you. And by definition, if the past is no longer affecting you, then you're no longer traumatized by it.
Right.
So that's how it works. And that can work whether it's someone coming back from war, whether it's someone who had been abused, whether it's someone who just suffered a serious loss, really for anything.
Yeah. So does it have this affectation because it resets as far as comfortability goes? So for instance, if I've had a bad experience like that mugger, right? So the mugger, every time I pass that corner, I remember that experience. By doing this, I reprogram myself to say, okay, you're safe now. That happened then. We're not discrediting that it happened, whether it did or didn't happen. We're just saying that you're safe now and that's not going to happen again. Is that what we're trying to do to change that negative thought? Because again, it's about how we feel. I do this exercise that I learned from Jack Canfield, and I actually, it's called the skyscraper exercise, where I actually walk people through the fact that they're on the top of this very, very high skyscraper and that they could fall off. And it's anastrophic response as opposed to catastrophic response. And this seems to be very anastrophic, where it's a positive response as opposed to the catastrophic negative response. Is that a similar concept to what the AFT is really doing?
Yeah, well, what happens, so we tend to think of memories as just like a snapshot. of like a Polaroid picture, and that's what the memory is. So the memory is a lot more than that. And the neuroscientists are finding that when we remember something, we're actually recreating it in our mind. We are giving it meaning every time we think of it. And so the image is not just the image of that street corner or of the mugger's face, but the memory is the image and how we felt and how we thought.
Correct.
So when that dissolves, you think about the image of the mugger, but it's not connected to a negative feeling anymore. It's no longer the same memory.
Right.
You don't have the same negative thought. It's no longer a negative memory. Like, for instance, let's just continue with this example. Let's say you go through some healing around this. You may get some wisdom, and you may decide, you know what, I'm going to take some self-defense classes, or I'm going to carry a gun, or I'm going to learn not to walk at that time at that place, or I'm going to just put a circle of protection around me before I go. Like, something's going to shift so that you feel mentally that you're okay instead of feeling vulnerable, because obviously all trauma makes us feel vulnerable and makes us feel small and helpless in one way or another.
Yeah.
And we're really kind of reclaiming our power when we process these traumas.
Yes. And you can read more about this at Aroma Therapy, Aroma Freedom Therapy. You can get that book on Amazon by Dr. Benjamin Perkus. It's amazing. I really encourage you to get it. And you can also go to aromafreedom.com. There you can do an online course with them. You can get certification so you can teach other people how to do it. You can train people. It really is. And Doc, you're really very hands-on. You're actually part of the whole process. It's not like you have a team of people that are doing it in your place. You actually are helping people learn this process and training other people so that you can get your message out worldwide, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I love it. I really enjoy it. And it's kind of like, you know, the stories of the karate master who teaches the beginner classes. You say, well, why does the karate master teach the beginner classes? Well, because if you get the beginning right, then everything else goes smoothly. So the technique itself is very simple.
Yeah.
And yet what I find is that even though the technique is simple, people are complicated.
Yeah.
So it's really about showing people how to get rid of all their preconceptions, all the other techniques they've learned, all the things that they think they do or don't know, and just follow the steps and watch the results.
You know, the thing that I find most interesting in all the work that I've done in the last few years is that things don't have to be as complicated as we make it. And the concept of it really is that easy is the hardest concept for my clients to get over, for people I talk to get over. And this is called an AFT reset. And it really isn't complicated. So do you find that as well?
Absolutely. That's why when I'll do little challenges sometimes where I'll say, okay, everyone, we're going to do a little reset every day for 7 days, and then we're going to meet up and talk about it. Not because people need to know how to do it every day, because they know how to do it after they spend 5 minutes. I showed them how to do it. But if you don't actually do it, then it doesn't have that result. So just getting it through our thick head that the simple works if we show up and do it. Is what it's all about. So
true. That's why whenever I go on speaking engagement, I always have exercises because it's easier for me to have the people engaged in doing it themselves as opposed to me talking about it. And this is one of those situations where you really want to read about this and engage and do it and try it. Just try it at home. You're going to really see such a difference. It's really a shift, a mental shift, and emotional states are shifted very quickly. It flawed me the first time that I went through it. And that's why I reached out to you, because I think what you're doing is amazing. Really quickly, you mentioned Gary Young. Gary Young is the founder of Young Living Oils. Mary Young, his wife, continues to run the company, and they're making world-changing discoveries and inventions that are really improving human conditions. And I know that you indicated that you're inspired by Thomas Edison, Albert Einstein, and Gary Young. And I'm inspired by you, Dr. Perkus. You are amazing at what you do. So just in the last few minutes, can you share with me what your why is? Why do you do what you do?
What is my why?
Mm-hmm.
I really want to see people not have such a hard time in life. That, as you said, life doesn't have to be as hard as people make it. And I just love that message to get everywhere. The more people I see, what's kind of addictive for me is helping people seeing that light bulb go off in their head, it just makes me want to do more of that. So when people, like you say, not just listen, not just read it, but actually do it, and they improve their life, it makes me feel better. That's why I do it.
I love it. Can we have you back on so you can run us through a session in the very near future?
Absolutely. Happy to.
I love it. It's aromafreedom.com. Please visit Dr. Perkus there. He is amazing. Thank you again for being on. You are listening to Healthy Lifestyle with Lorianne. We're going to take a short break. We will be right back. Welcome back to Healthy Lifestyle with Lorianne. I am Lorianne. If you'd like to be a guest and or lift up your business and come on and talk to everybody on Healthy Lifestyle, reach out to us at healthylifestylewithla@gmail.com. We would love to have you on. Also know that if you want to get more information about what I do as a coach and working with me, my website is ldcstrategies.com. Please feel free to jump on that as well. So first half, unbelievably amazing with Dr. Benjamin Perkus for aromafreedom.com. You really do need to check it out. What he does, that reset is amazing. I've watched other people and myself just shift within minutes of having just a challenging day or just having a better feeling, you know, when you wake up that morning and you just don't have those good feelings. But I have to tell you, our second guest here today, we always get good feelings from him. He is really such a leader. He is the president of the Port Jefferson Lions, Lion Lenny Scolaro. He is just such an inspiration of all the things that we do, leading us all to do the things that Lions do. And welcome to the show, Lenny. Thank you for being on.
Hey, thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Do I have to keep calling you Lion Lenny? Can I tell you the story about Lion Lenny?
Go ahead.
It was so funny. So before I became a lion myself, I was on a virtual meeting, and during the virtual meeting, the person who invited me is Roy, right?
Yep.
Roy invites me on, and they're calling Roy a lion, and I heard liar, so I heard liar Roy, and I was like, why are they saying that? And then I noticed that everybody was Lion Lenny and Lion Lori and Lion this and I was like, oh, they're saying lion, so.
Yeah, that's right, because your first meeting was during COVID, so we were trying to manage remotely, which is always fun.
Yeah, so it was very funny that just transpired. So to this day, I'm always like, don't call me that. But you are the president, and you are such a wonderful leader. But tell us more about the Lions, about the Port Jefferson Lions Club, and all the stuff that we do. I mean, it's amazing, from the Christmas things that we do and the food pantry things that we do. So tell us more about some things that Lions do.
Sure. So the Port Jefferson Lions have been around since about 1946. So we're over 75 years old now. So
you look good.
I'm not there yet, but we are 75 years old. Formed by some community business people, and the group's been together. And we're a charter member of Lions International, which is an international charity that's in over 200 countries, and we have over 1.3 million members worldwide. Wow. So that allows us to do some things with very low overhead, because we get the support of Lions International to cover insurance for events and all that fun stuff that makes us really focus on the community, which is what the 50 members we have try to do year round. And it's been interesting through COVID. You know some of those stories, and I'll share them here if it seems appropriate to what we're talking about. But primarily, we do two things, really. We raise money from the community, from our members, and we distribute that to about 14 or 15 charities that kind of fit the profile of what Lions is trying to do. Lions International really was formed specifically to deal with vision and blindness. And that role has expanded to cover diabetes, which is a leading cause of blindness, disaster relief worldwide, hunger, youth cancer, and basically you got to remember that Lions International really is made up of thousands of Lions clubs like ours locally, with 30 or 40 members that are trying to make improvements in their community.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit about Lions International and how we fit into that picture. We have 50 members in the Port Jeff Lions Club right now. Always like to get more. We'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah, there you go.
And we focus on not only supporting those charities, which is about, I think about, if you were going to put a number to, about 65% of our fundraising goes to charities like Angela's House or Hope House, local charities, the Three Village Meal on Wheels, local charities that are affecting members of the community in one way, shape, or that are in those tenets we kind of talked about. And then the other 25 or 35% really goes to our own events. So one of the things we do is every holiday season we go through a hunger project. So this year we supported about 120 families and gave them enough food to really make a holiday meal and cover them from the week. The other thing we do, and that's one of my favorite events, because not only do we purchase the food, we put it together. So we're working with members of the community to do the logistics to do this. But for about 70% of it, we actually deliver the food directly to the homes of the people in need. It's
a huge, huge undertaking. And I know that a couple of the Lions have done it year over year. And another funny story connection with the Lions with us is my son, Nicholas, is best friends with the son of the person who runs this. So Drew Buttleman and his wife, Lisa, they have run this for years. So little do I know that my son has told me year over year, okay, I'm going to go do the food run again. And I was like, oh, okay. And so he would go over with Eric, the son, and his best friends, and they would do this. And just last year, I found out that it was Eric's father, Drew Buttleman. It was the food pantry or the food fund run that you guys do with the Lions that I just joined up, and I'm like, oh my gosh,
it's a small island, right? It's really how small
all along, and I thought it was great. Yeah, go do this. This is a great thing. Had no idea. So amazing.
Yeah, and then the other thing we do, which it's in
Christmas magic.
Yeah, our events are kind of back to back to back sometimes. Is Christmas magic. So. In that event, this year we sponsored 50 children where the Lions are going out and they're buying gifts based on, we work with some social workers and other entities in the area to provide us a list of children in need. We get a Christmas list for them, and then the Lions go out and they buy the items on the Christmas list.
And we wrap them.
And we wrap them up. And then in previous years, pre-COVID, we'd have a gathering either at a local facility. We did it with the Port Jeff Fire Department one year. That was really great. But in the last 2 years, we've actually 3 years now coming up. We had to kind of think out of the box. So we delivered the gifts to the family. We had a caravan of Lions. This year we partnered with the Three Village Santas, which was great.
Oh,
so
my
we
gosh.
had a Santa.
He was a great Santa. Yeah. He danced on the truck, on the delivery, all the way down 25A. Yeah. It was a beautiful sight.
In the rain.
It was pouring, and he was still dancing and rattling his cowbells and stuff like that. Yeah, really energetic. The family, the look on the children's faces when we came up with the caravan. They come out and run. I just remember that one girl out, and I think it was Rocky Point, and she comes out and just gives the Santa such a hug. I thought she was going to knock him off his feet.
It was a running leap, and arms and legs were wrapped at the end of it.
Yes, it was just beautiful. And from family to family, and then neighbor kids came out and like no socks, no shoes. There was snow on the ground, and just a really fulfilling thing. And to be able to see what they're coming from and how we're helping them out, it's really a beautiful thing. Just being a lion. I'm a baby lion because I'm new with you, but it's so heartwarming, and it's really hard not to break out into tears because you just realize how grateful we need to be on what we have, and to be able to give back just a little bit is just so good. So much so that after this event, you hear all the Lions talking about, okay, how can we do this more? And how come not just once a year and things? It's a beautiful organization. It really is.
What I really appreciate about it the most is that you can include your family in it. That's one of the reasons I became a Lion 6 or 7 years ago, is because I was doing a lot of similar events through my office or through other charities. And then I realized my kids are really growing up in a bubble. And they only see their life, which is usually classroom, their friends, in a screen of some sort where they're pushing buttons in front of them.
Right.
And I remember when my now 20-year-old Cora, going to be 20, went on her first delivery for the food basket, and we happened to go to an apartment in Port Jeff, and it was a woman that had 3 kids, and she didn't have arms on either side below her elbows. And she was managing 3 young children And she had lost her aide that week, so we actually helped her put the food away because she needed the help. And it was eye-opening for my daughter in terms of seeing that just around the corner there are people that are legitimately hurting and have a need.
Needs, right in our backyards.
Yeah.
Right in our backyards.
So.
Yeah, no, it really is quite beautiful. And we have another fundraiser coming up in May, right?
Yeah, so our big fundraiser is typically our golf outing. That's about half of our fundraising. We try to get in one fell swoop. So that is May 16th. We have our golf outing. We are still looking for golfers. So if you play golf and you want to take Monday off and you want to play Port Jefferson Country Club, which is a great place that most people don't get a chance to get to unless they're members.
It's a beautiful course.
Yeah.
Beautiful course.
It's, I think we have an 11 o'clock tee off, so we're going to give you breakfast. You play golf, and then we have a cocktail hour and dinner. And, of course, we'll hit you with the raffles and everything else that we usually do as we go through. We have a car giveaway that is going to happen at the same time. Hole-in-one giveaway. We have, I think, $2,000 worth of raffle prizes that we'll do. And it's a great opportunity to see. We're trying to get the Guide Dog Foundation to lend us a couple of dogs so people will see them. It's one of the charities we support. Nice. We do at least one guide dog every year. So we're hoping to get them to come to have some dogs on site. We're working on that. Nice. That would be nice. So you get to meet some of them. But that's coming up. It's May 16th. And we'd love to have a couple more golfers. And we always can use sponsors. So from a sponsorship standpoint, we will take anything you're willing to give. But if you give at least $150, it will buy you a T sign, and we'll take your logo and it'll go on our website. So it's a T sign with your logo, so all the local businesses or people going to the golf outing can see it. And then when somebody clicks on our website, anytime during the year, they can see who support us at the golf outing.
So it stays up for the whole entire year.
Yeah, golf outing to golf outing.
Any sponsor stays up there for the whole year.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's a really nice exposure, really nice value, and what a great event. It really is a fabulous event, and we know that 100% of the money goes to donations.
Yeah, everything we raise goes to our either our direct service events or to the charities we support.
Right.
We don't. There's nobody getting paid for anything here. There's we meet once a month, and the members pay for that meeting. Right? They write their dinner checks out.
Yes, we do,
and we do that every month. Board meeting meets every month too. We do the same thing. So none of it goes to overhead or supporting the club. We that's a separate thing that we manage separately.
Which is something that's near and dear to my heart. 100% of the money going to actually where it's supposed to go. I understand administrative costs, but we handle it differently, and that's a beautiful thing. There are not a lot of charities out there who do 100% in. And within our organization, we have people who have their own foundations and charities as well.
Yep.
So it's just a really nice group of people. That's why I loved becoming. I felt so privileged and honored to be, because you have to be invited in, and to even be considered to be a member, and then you have to be voted in after that. It was just an honor and privilege to be voted in as a Lion, knowing that I would be able to help out and be surrounded by a lot of really heart-centered people. It's just amazing. And every time I get to know another member, it just reconfirms my feelings about it.
Yeah, I think the good part about our club is that we want to make sure we have a good fit.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not a social club. Like there are other organizations out there that are more socially inclined and they have social meetings. And basically we're meeting to try to figure out the best way we can help the community adjust to the needs of the community and raise the money to do so. So that's what we're trying to do.
And recently, weren't we visited by the supervisor of the town?
Yes, we were lucky enough to have Ed remain at our last meeting, which was great. So again. Any type of connection we can have to the community, up or down, or with a part of government, or with local business leaders, or anybody else that can help us, or make us aware of need that we're not aware of, so we can adjust our budgets year over year. That'd be great. That's always good to have.
It really is. So let's talk about membership. So. Yeah, how does one become a member? I mean, I know I went through the process, but why don't we let the listeners know?
And so
because it's really valuable.
Yeah. So I think from a membership standpoint, is usually we are getting members who have been exposed to us at some type of event, right? So
Exposed in a good way.
Yeah, exposed in a good way. So either they've seen our good works or they've run across a pamphlet, or they know somebody that knows somebody, and they want to know a little bit more about us, or they're family members of current members or friends of current members. And that's really where we do most of our recruiting. Is a member knows a friend that thinks they would, that are looking for an outlet to do something more, and they invite them to a meeting. So that's really what the first thing that happens. We do get inquiries from people, through our email address at portjeffersonlions@gmail.com that are interested, because if you go to Lions International and you put in where you live, it'll direct us to us, so we get those two.
Yeah.
So the first thing we do is we tell them about the club, what we do, and what we are trying to focus on. And typically, if someone's interested and they think it's a good fit, we'll invite them to a meeting, right? That's really the first start, where they get to meet the members and they get to sit in and listen to what we're doing and what we're planning for the next event, or trying to react to. And then after at least 2 meetings or events, right? So it doesn't have to be a meeting. We could be like, if we have, if somebody wants to come down to the golf outing and volunteer, that would be great. Always use new volunteers to help register people. Then what happens is we usually do an interview. And that interview involves a very short questionnaire about why they want to join and what they do and what skills and abilities they can bring to the club. Right. And then the membership the chairperson and his or her committee, this time it's John Favriglio, will make a recommendation to the board, and the board then will have a meeting as part of the normal board meeting, and we'll talk about our interactions with that prospective member and how it's gone and how we think they will fit. And then we'll take a vote. And at that point, we'll do an induction, usually within 6 weeks or so.
Yeah, it's really very nice. The thing I really like about it too is the meetings are fun and productive. So I've been to a lot of networking meetings. I've been to a lot of groups where, you go and you've just lost an hour. That's not the case here. You feel really productive. You feel part of community. You're getting to give back to the community, to people that you can look right in the eyes, like these children, like these families that we're helping out. You get to actually see that, and it just makes you want to do more and more and more.
Yeah, and it's been great. We have a couple of great ideas from new members over the last couple of months for fundraising opportunities, and also
we have a car show coming up, probably, right?
We're trying to get a car show together. We have a movie night that one of the members came up with.
Movie night, yes.
So that's going to be a family movie night. Will be a great one
at Movie Land. I think it's going to be.
Yeah. And we're also looking at maybe doing one at Port Jefferson Cinemas too. So,
awesome! I love Phil. Phil's wonderful.
Yeah. So, and that place is great. That's a great family place.
Yeah. And it's right next door to our good friend Aaron's ice cream place.
Yeah. So we always would love to have new members. So I would say that if you live in the Port Jefferson area, really with some Mount Sinai, the Three Village area. I'm over in Stony Brook, but that's kind of what our range is. And you're interested in becoming a Port Jefferson Lion, you can send us an email. If you don't live in those areas and you're excited or think the Lions Club is a good idea, you can always go reach out to your local Lions Club if you're not sure which one.
Or reach out to Lenny.
Yeah,
Lenny,
reach out to me. I'll point you to the right club. And we can get you set up. Yeah, we can get you set up with a president or a membership chairperson for your local club.
And slowly,
yes,
because we're New Yorkers, we talk really fast.
Yes.
What is the email and the website again?
So the email is Port Jefferson Lions, all one word, at gmail.com.
All right, that's good.
I've also had 3 cups of coffee before I got
okay, we'll talk about that later.
And the website is Port Jefferson Lions.
.com.
Yeah.
It's PortJeffersonLions.com. So if you're interested in becoming a member or volunteering or participating, just let us know. It really is doing something good, giving back to our community, our local community. Or if you live in a different area, we have Lions everywhere and there are clubs everywhere. So again, reach out to us. We'll get you to the right place. No worries there. Lenny, I'm going to ask this question. What's your why? Why do you do what you do?
Well, I think for me, I think about 8 or 9 years ago, I'm in my, early 40s at that point. I'm going, all right, this is great, but I'm in this, rut where I go to work every day. I'm, running a rat race, and I listen to my podcasts on my commute, and that's my life. Really,
we like podcasts.
Yes, I do. Actually, I miss that's one of the reasons why I miss my commute. I don't get as many podcasts as I used to. I was listening on the way here, so that helped me out today. But it was like a rut, right? Where I would go to work, come home, we'd do dinner, and then I was just doing stuff around the house, and Maybe the weekends was, the kids my age is dragging people to sports, and it's like, listen, it's got to be more than this, right? And I was doing some events at work, but it was inconsistent, right?
Yeah.
And the participatory level was not as what I wanted it to be. Like I always thought with some of the things we did at work, I said, well, why don't we do it this way? And when you're dealing with a corporation like the one I work for, there's always reasons, and it's necessarily usually to protect the corporation, right? For certain things. So I thought that being able to be more involved and do something locally in my community, involve my family,
yes,
and then have some type of input to maybe make some changes here and there. I'm an operations guy, right? So I always want to tweak things. Was a big part of it, right?
Yeah.
And that's pretty much. And if the family part was the biggest part, because the other things I couldn't involve my family.
As a parent too, you're a role model, and by showing, I think the best gift my parents gave me was the sense of community and giving back.
Yep.
That was my obligation. I was to serve, and that's what I do. I serve. Even in my job, I serve people, but to give back, and that's what you're doing by bringing your family in, so that we're paying it forward through our children.
Yep, and it just grows that way. That's ultimately what we want.
And when we're taking care of each other, when we're taking care of community members, there's a bigger value in life, a bigger value in investment in our neighborhoods. I think it's really important thing. So I love your why. That's a great thing.
I have to agree. Thank you.
That's a really good thing. I really appreciate you coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me. I really glad this worked out. And I was able to come down here in person.
That's awesome. I'm so glad you're in our studio. May 16th is the golf outing.
Yep.
So to reach out to Port Jefferson Lions will be really good. If you want to become a sponsor, I totally encourage you to do so. It's an opportunity to give back to the community you live in. So thank you all for joining us today on Healthy Lifestyle. My heart is always lifted by you making a choice to listen to us here at Healthy Lifestyle with Lorianne. So what do I always say, you guys? Thank you for joining us. And remember, until next time, play a higher role, serve a higher purpose, show up for you, and what? That's right, show up big. We'll see you next time. Hope you have a really great weekend.